So today's video is going to be another top 5 list, and today it's going to be my top 5 favorite animated Disney films of all time. So rules for this list: it has to be 100% animated, no live action Disney films in this list, and it has to be Disney, not Pixar. So if you're looking for Toy Story on this list, it's not going to be on here. So coming in at number 5 on my list is The Fox and the Hound. Woo. So The Fox and the Hound came out about 1981, 1982, and it's basically about how a little fox cub named Todd meets a young hound puppy named Copper, and they become friends despite the fact that one's a fox and the other's a dog, a hound dog that's gonna grow up to hunt animals just like Todd. And I think it's a very sweet movie. It definitely made me cry at certain parts, especially when the old lady, I forgot her name, that takes care of Todd, raises Todd, she has to give him up, put him back in the forest. I still cry like a baby to this day whenever I watch that scene. I think it's cute. I think it has a great moral story to it. And in the 1980s, it was the one of the few Disney films that people really liked. So that's why it's number 5. Coming in at number 4 on my list is The Hunchback of Notre Dame from 1996. Ooh. The Hunchback of Notre Dame is an animated adaptation based off of the Victor Hugo novel of the same name, and even though they didn't completely keep to the source material for obvious reasons, the book itself is pretty dark and gruesome. It's like the French version of Hamlet almost. Everybody pretty much dies in the book. But obviously in a Disney film, they can't really have everybody die now, can they? I consider The Hunchback of Notre Dame to be sort of the black sheep of the Disney catalog. It wasn't really all princesses and talking animals and little kids and all that stuff. That's, traditional Disney. It dealt with mature subject matter. All the characters in the movie were, I think Quasimodo was the youngest, and he seemed to be about 20 years old. In fact, he was at least 20 years old. So here in this movie, you dealt with a adult character base, and we had deep issues like corruption in politics, poverty, racism, prejudice, the inability to take care of those who are less fortunate, such as people who with disabilities, people who are poor. These are very real world issues that, we can relate to as an audience in the real world even now, how many years later. And, there wasn't any talking animals in this movie. The only talking objects were the gargoyles, which, some people find very annoying. But, I felt like they were needed in this movie, not only for comic relief, but to represent the voice of the cathedral, because if any of you guys have read The Hunchback of Notre Dame itself, you understand that the cathedral itself was meant to be the main character. And in the Disney film, they portray that through the gargoyles. Specifically, the female one, the old lady gargoyle. Forget her name, I think it's Vern, but anyways, I really enjoyed The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I think it was a great risk that Disney took, and it's a really entertaining movie. You can learn a lot from that movie if you have an open mind, and that's why it's number 4 on my list. Coming in at number 3 on my list is The Little Mermaid. I first saw The Little Mermaid when I was really young. It's actually one of my earliest childhood memories, watching The Little Mermaid. And it isn't by any means the best Disney film, but it did a lot for Disney at the time. I don't know if any of you guys know this, but the Disney Animation Company was, you know, on the threat of being shut down. I don't know permanently, but for a time being, they wanted to shut it down because Disney was going bankrupt. And then they made The Little Mermaid, and people really liked that movie, and they didn't shut it down. So, The Little Mermaid might just be single-handedly the reason why the Disney Animation Studio exists today. So, but aside from that, I really love that movie. I really think that Ariel is a fantastic, albeit flawed, protagonist. She really changed things for female Disney protagonists. I mean, she was still the little princess with the single or the widowed father. It tends to happen in Disney films. But, throughout the course of the movie, she's the one that saves her Prince Charming, and she doesn't, well, she does get saved by him, but, it's a nice change, that, the little princess doesn't always have to be the damsel in distress. She's the one that rescues the prince. She's the one that saves his life. I always respected that, despite, her naive ditziness. And obviously, I really love the songs in the movie. Part of Your World really touches me as a young woman, always has. I could sing any of those songs, day in and day out, pretty much. So that's why it's number 3 on my list. Coming in at number 2 on my list is Beauty and the Beast. How about that? If The Little Mermaid was responsible for bringing Disney back from the brink of bankruptcy, then Beauty and the Beast is responsible for making Disney, for giving Disney credibility again as a movie company. Yeah. I really love the characters in this movie. Belle is a great protagonist. It was a great love story between two um, things that you wouldn't necessarily think of hooking up, you know? And, it's a very popular movie. It's a classic. There's a Broadway version of it, which is really amazing. If you guys haven't seen the Broadway version with Beauty and the Beast, I highly recommend it. It actually made Gaston interesting, in the movie version. I hate Gaston, not only because he's the villain, but because he's just so annoying. But in the Broadway version, he's actually likable despite the fact that he's the villain. Beauty and the Beast was the first animated film nominated for Best Picture at both the Golden Globes and the Academy Awards. And that says a lot about the film, that this specific film could be so good that it's worthy of those nominations, especially at the time. And I think Beauty and the Beast is another movie that is very much the reason why Disney is so successful, or was so successful throughout the 90s. Um, just a great film all around, and I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't. and that's why it's at number 2. So coming in at number 1 on this list is my absolute all-time favorite Disney animated film, Aladdin. So Aladdin for me is like the epitome of childhood nostalgia. I love this movie so much. I broke the VHS tape as a child. I actually have a copy of the movie still on VHS, even though I don't have a VCR anymore. I have the movie on DVD, and I'm anxiously waiting for them to finally release it on Blu-ray. Like, how long is it gonna take for them? I'm pretty sure Aladdin's the only movie that they haven't released on Blu-ray at this point. They just released The Jungle Book. I don't know when they're gonna release Aladdin, but they need to release it soon, that's all I'm saying. So, the movie Aladdin, it had great characters, great plot, great themes. The music was awesome. My favorite song of all time is A Whole New World. I literally listen to that song every day of my life. There's not a day that goes by that I don't listen to that song at least once. The pop version, anyways. And it was amazing. It was the highest grossing movie of 1992. It won Oscars for Best Song, specifically A Whole New World. And I don't know if it won for Best Score, but I think it was nominated. I'm not 100% sure on that though, so correct me if I'm wrong. Anyways, Aladdin was an amazing movie. It's probably the most nostalgic film for me my whole childhood. And that's why it's number 1 on my list. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was really long compared to some of my other videos. I apologize, but I just had to make this list because if you talk to anybody I know, I really enjoy Disney films, so especially the ones that I grew up with. So have a great day. See y'all next time, and goodbye.